Morning, dear friend. Today is the 19th of June, the year 2011, and we are on the 4 days of the health retreat in Hull, England. Yesterday, we already have opportunity to learn on the art of cooking, eating, sleeping, breathing, and so on. And today we will continue how to listen to our body, practice mindfulness in our daily activity. Especially, we learn how to live harmony with our body or with the nature. Follow the circadian rhythm of the universe. If we can do that, if we can get along with that, we will have a healthy life, and we can contribute a lot to ourselves, to our family, society, and the whole world. As you see on the board, we have the timing for the body to do its job accordingly to the circadian rhythm of the universe. That's why in the art of eating, we already talk about why we should not have a big meal and late dinner. The reason, because if we have a big meal at dinner, the food will remain in our stomach at least 3 hours. And if we have dinner at 6 o'clock, it may be okay, because after 3 hours all of the food we get kicked out the stomach already. So, and then from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. is the time for the lymphatic system go around to check and do the cleaning. So if we eat big dinner with a lot of protein and fat or oily meal, the food will retain in the stomach longer, especially when we have a dinner later than 6 or 7 p.m. 9 o'clock is the time for the lymphatic system to start its job of cleansing. If the food still remains in our stomach, it cannot do its job. So if the lymphatic cannot do its job, so the whole GI tract system gets stuck, and then it has only 2 hours to finish all his stuff. After 11 p.m. supposed to be all of the lymphatic system be clean and clear, so that at 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. gallbladder will continue its work at cleansing its duct and all of surrounding network. So if the stomach not cleansed up and the lymphatic system not clean up. No space available for the gallbladder to dump out extract. And after 1 a.m. is the time for the liver to clean. So the lymphatic system cannot cleanse up all the dirty stuff in our body, in our GI tract. There is no space available for the gallbladder to dump out extract. There is no space available for the liver to dump out all the bad material to get rid out our body. So that means all the stress, all the toxins still remain in there and it gets stuck. And the other reason why we need to have a dinner early and not too big meal, because yesterday we already learned about the art of sleeping, right? And we recommend the best time to go to bed around 10 p.m. middle way of this, because we need to lay down for the muscle to relax, to let the lymphatic system have an opportunity to go around, to check and to clean easier. If we're not going to lay down and we're still walking, it's harder for the lymphatic system to go around to check and to clean our body. And then after 6 hours of cleansing continuously from the whole lymphatic system to the headquarters of our digestive system and immune system, our energy channel almost clear, clean, and have a space available. And usually at this time, all of our glands get ready to secrete the hormone, and that's why that is the time we usually have the highest level of all of the hormone in our body, as well as that is a good time for the life force in the universe to penetrate in our body through all of the energy channel to fill up or to recharge our battery. So if we not follow the circadian rhythm of our body in harmoniously with the nature, all of this process gets stuck, and all of the toxin, all of the obstruction still remain in our body. The hormone cannot be flow all around in our body. The life force, the energy in the nature cannot be filled up our channel. Our battery cannot be fully recharged, so we don't have enough energy to carry out the task for the next day. And also in the art of sleeping, yesterday we learned that we should wake up around at 4 a.m. in the best time. Why? Because again, that is the middle way. The time from 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. That is the time the nature around the positive life force to help our body to extract all of the bad air, the dead air in our lung, at the bottom of our lungs or in other cavity. Because during the night time we lay out flat, right? And we already learned the earth gravity will pull down whatever heavy material. The air lightly so will floating up. So it will get stuck along our belly or our muscle. And also during the sleeping time, our heart rate and breathing rate very slow, so it cannot push out all of the dead air at the bottom of our lung, because we lay flat. So if we not wake up before 5 p.m., all of the dead air still remain in our body, and with the support of the life force from the nature to suck out all that one. But if we still remain laying down flat, it's much harder for all that air to get out our body. So we need to wake up around 4:30 or later, 4:45. So let's say we are doing cheating, right? Instead of middleway, now we go to on the last minute. But at least when we start to wake up, our heart rate, breathing rate will be faster. Also, we will sitting up, right? When we're sitting up, automatically the air will flow up, and it gets out easier by the help from the nature to suck it out. So when it's already coming out slowly, okay, we take a little bit more time from the next interval. See, we do cheating here,
Yeah.
but actually 4 a.m. middle way is the best time. So that's the first thing. The other thing, the whole our body connect to each other, so it looks like a bottle. If we had a button, we plug on the top, it cannot get anything out at the bottom, right? Because it's vacuum. So if we not wake up early to let the dead air floating out on the top, it looks like okay, this bottle gets stuck because we have the button okay, to hold for the top. When we wake up, we sitting up, we standing up, the earth gravity will pull out whatever heavy down. So it will help all the fishes go along and get out. So on the top, open the buzzer and let it out. At the bottom, open this one and get rid of this one. So everything clean, right? The material as well as the air are invisible energy. But if we're not doing that, the top portion gets stuck, the bottom part gets stuck. So what happens? The dead air, high concentration of carbonic, will penetrate into our bloodstream. The bad smell, the high concentration of toxin in here and in the bladder will penetrate into our bloodstream. So waste of the time for all the time for the lymphatic system and or this one to do its job over the night. It tries to suck out instead of eliminate, push it out our body. Now it penetrate into our bloodstream. So waste all the energy all the time. See? So that's why listen to our body, follow the circadian rhythm of our body and the nature. We will have a lot of support and we will get along easily. And if we're doing that, after 7 a.m. the top portion clear, the bottom portion clear, so everything out. Now the time to take in 7 to 9 a.m. is the time for the new absorption, that means the new food to be accepted. So follow the circadian rhythm will help us to live harmoniously with the nature, have a healthy life, and contribute to the preservation or protection of our planet. Because if we go astray again, that means we preserve the dead air or the toxin in our body. If our body not well, that means the nature will be not good, because it correlates, it intervenes, it mutually affects each other. And also, as you see here, at the lunchtime, usually the Buddha recommends, the Buddha and the Sangha usually eat lunch at the time before noon. That means the middle way from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Why? Because that is the time, even though we eat the normal food, the lower level, but in that period of time, with the assistance of the life force in the nature, all of that food will be converted from the lower level into higher level at the highest rate, and it goes directly to support our heart and our mind. Our heart represents for loving kindness and compassion. Our mind represents for wisdom or insight. That's why in the old time, the Buddha and the Sangha just eat only one meal per day, but it's enough to nourish everyone in a healthy state. And also, to become a real perfect Buddha, we have two characteristics: loving kindness and compassion in correlate with wisdom and insight. Both of that have to be parallel and balanced. If on one side more than the other, okay, only one aspect is not enough to become a Buddha. So that's why the lunchtime is the perfect life when we eat around the time between 11:30 to 12:30, and then after that, you see it's the time for transfer the energy down to the lower part of our body. That's why the Buddha not recommend the Sangha eating mud in the evening, because in the morning, you see, usually it is a time for the energy to flow up. So whatever light, whatever purified will floating up on the air. So that usually the time for the angel or the deva to eat and to do the devotion or dana to the Buddha or all direction or to human being. And lunchtime is the time for the Buddha and the Sangha or the divine people. Later in the evening is the time for the lower realm, and usually that is the animal or the hungry goat. That's why we need to concentrate our meal at lunchtime in the main meal for the day. Breakfast lighter and dinner much lighter. And we need to keep in mind and follow this one as much as possible. And if we can follow that, we will see our life change totally, and we have a healthy state and contribute to the to a society in a harmonious way. For the warning sign, we don't have enough time to go over all this one, so I just try to mention some important one. It can be the helpful sign to prevent severe condition or death for ourselves and for our relatives or friends. First, whenever you see a person on a sudden he or she fell, and when he stand up, his mouth no longer straight, it will go aside. We know that easy. But there is some case it seems to normal. The patient fall and get up after 5 minutes, after 3 minutes, and even though the patient not really recognize any change in his body, but if we not realize that as soon as possible, I have some patient pass away after 48 hours. The reason because if a person have a history of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or diabetic, we usually have a medication, or at least we have a checkup every year or every 6 months, so he know he have some problem. But for people never have a history of cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, or stroke, or TIA, whatever, so when they have a party, they have a picnic, maybe just a little bit over fun, over enjoyment, and the pressure is going up, the nerve be overstimulated, that person just fell, and after 4 or 5 minutes, or even though only 1 or 2 minutes, he stands up and everything seems normal, but actually it's not. In that case, whenever you see a person just fall and stand up, you have at least 3 signs to check the patient. First, you ask the patient to smile. If that person cannot smile normally, the lip go aside, or the lip cannot perform the regularly smile. Okay, that is one side. The second one, you ask the patient to say something, maybe repeat a very simple sentence, or maybe just say something very simple. If the patient cannot talk regularly, normally, that is the second side. The third one, you ask that person to rise up his left arm. If he raises his arm up and he feels pain, or he cannot raise his arm up, that means the third side. If one of that is positive, so the patient have an indication of pre-stroke. If you want for sure, you ask the patient open his mouth and look at his tongue. If his tongue no longer flat and it bent, and the tip of his tongue it go aside, that definitely the patient already got stroke. So call emergency, let the patient go to the hospital as soon as possible. Secondly, nowadays we have a lot of patients have a condition what we call vertigo, or the imbalance or disturbance of the central nervous system. That means when the patient just open his eyes early in the morning or sometime during the day, whenever he move or change the position, he saw all of the how everything surrounding it turn around. It turn around like dizzy, but it's more severe than dizziness. And that kind of very difficult for diagnosis. And most of the doctors misdiagnose, or actually they don't know what to do. Because sometimes the symptom is severe enough to let the patient faint and fall down for 10 or 15 minutes like a dead person. But after 10 or 15 minutes of recovery, the patient will wake up just a little bit tired, but nothing else. When we bring the patient to hospital for checkup, everything from the blood test to CT scan, MRI, most of the patient normal, unless that patient have a history of some other disease. They may show up, but otherwise most of the patients will have a normal result. The problem because the central nervous system, especially the parasympathetic system, be stimulated, be stressed too much. So when it have incident, maybe a cold wind, any stimulant can cause the patient overstimulated, and the parasympathetic responsible for the heart, the sweat gland, the bladder, the intestine. So when that incident happens, all of the muscle on the nerve be tight, the blood cannot flow, and the patient faint and fall down. So in that case, we just let the patient lay flat, and we can rub gently in the back of the neck, in the middle of the palm, and in the center below the nose, and let the patient lay quietly. Don't move the patient until the patient awake, or at least the patient can breathe again. Don't move the patient before the patient can breathe or wake up again. It will damage our nervous system and brain. The other thing, when you or your relative losing weight or gaining weight too fast, accept in the time for fasting purification. We are allowed to lose about 4 to 5 kilograms per week maximum during the fasting purification if you are overweight, and if you have a lot of extra fluid in your body. Otherwise, the skinny people don't have anything extra to lose, like me. Even though after a week of fasting, I may lose only about 1.5 to 2 kilograms maximum. So don't worry when you lose weight during the fast for purification or losing weight. Just let it go down slowly, and it will be okay. Otherwise, whenever we are living in the normal condition, and then we see that we are losing weight more than 4 or 5 kilograms per month, should taking care and look carefully to see what's going on, or check up with the medical personnel. Also, the other sign symptom of urinary tract infection. Whenever you see that you have a frequency of urination with the sign of burning, or sometimes have blood on any sediment, you should check, follow up 1 to 2 days, and we will learn how to check and how to correct that one by some herbal medicine or some master technique. If after 2 or 3 days the sign symptom not improve, and then we seek for help from the medical assistant. And another point, check our heart rate. It's supposed to help to exercise, to train our heart to have a high heart rate during the exercise, to let its blood be pumped out as much as possible, to help the aorta and all of the artery be dilated and contract as much as possible. It also, with that force, it will help to push or to clear any obstacle, any cholesterol stick along the blood vessel wall. So when we exercise, the formula for increase the heart rate appropriately is 220 U minus your current age. And if you can perform minimum 60 to 80% of that, supposed to be appropriate. 220 minus your current age. And if you can perform minimum 60 to 80% of that, you are okay. But and then after 10 minutes of relaxation, your heart rate has to come back to normal. So that is a way to train for our heart and our blood vessel. For example, you are 50. Now, you take 220, you minus 50, you still have 170. Minimum of 60% of 170 is 102. So when we exercise, our heart rate has to go from 70 or 75 up to minimum 102 to 130, and after 10 minutes break it has to go back to 70 or 75.
How high does it go, did you say, when you exercise?
Minimum 60 to 80% of that number. So if we exercise but our heart rate cannot rise up to the minimum 60% of that, that means it's not enough. It's not hot enough when we had a problem. Or if it can rise up to that number, minimum 60%, but after 10 minutes break it cannot get back to the normal heart rate, that is another problem too. So we need to train and we need to select the appropriate exercise to help our heart and our blood vessel. When we do that appropriately, it's not only to help the circulation system, it will help the immune system, the digestive system, and all other system, organ in our body, because the blood will flow faster evenly throughout our body. It will carry the energy, the nutrition, the oxygen, the immune factor, as well as carry out the byproduct, the toxin from the cell or the organ back to the urinary tract or the digestive tract to be pushed out our body. And then otherwise, when we not exercise, but all of a sudden our heart rate increase above the regular heart rate, we have to listen and observe to see what is the stimulant to cause that. And if we can identify that, we will learn slowly to eliminate or minimize to expose to that. And also we will learn how to calm our nerve to regulate our heartbeat. Otherwise, if we're not mindful enough to recognize that, it will get used to that, and all of the electrical signal will mess up, and we will have arrhythmia, or we will have a high heart rate continually, and the consequence of that is high blood pressure or heart attack. The other thing, whenever you have the feeling of abdominal distension, indigestion, or constipation, we will learn how to monitor, how to solve the constipation issue. But if you have the problem with that awfully, we need to fast or to stop eating for a few days to observe what's going on in our intestinal system, especially usually the large intestine and the liver area. The stomach area is very easy to detect any problem because it's very, very sensitive to any signal, any stimulant, any stress. But the liver or the large intestine, okay, it responds slower and it differs. And we already learned yesterday, when we eat incorrectly, drink incorrectly, it becomes coagulated and it will get stuck along the bile duct, the large intestine, and most of the time people have the tumor or the cancer in this area, because it have the folding and it close together. If we not discover it early, and then the intestinal wall will be expanded and it become thinner and it will get stick to each other. So even though when we see this large intestine, it's close to the small intestine, we see it very close, only a few centimeters. But actually when it sticks together and we have to cut at least a few about 30 to 40 centimeters, because our intestine is going zigzag. So when it sits close like that, but when we cut to remove the tumor or the wall gets stick together, it has to remove the whole section, and it costs at least about 2 to 3, sometimes 40 centimeters. And if we not discover early, it may stick together more and more, and the obstruction will be more severe. And if the intestine had a problem, the blood system, the circulation system will have a problem. So listen to our body when we had a feeling of unusual, abnormal, indigestion, distension. Especially in women, sometimes it alternates. Some day constipation, the other day diarrhea, because it be affected by the hormone, and that is the nature of the disease. So it's very hard to treat the irritation bowel disease in women. So as early as possible, if we detect, we can correct it easily, and make sure we learn how to listen as soon as possible, and we correct by diet, not yield medication, because our body already overwhelming with all the toxin in the body. Now when we use medication, that means we put more toxin into the system and make the burden become heavier. This is a few common disease. For the first one, they're too young, do not belong to this group, so don't worry. For the second group, 30 to 50, most women still have